Seguro. दवाई लीजिए के पीछे इसमें Ngadi
Yes, ma'am. So, should I sing? Samsardava Naranidaloka Pranaya Karunyam Gana Ganatam Raptasya Kalyanam Gunarnavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtananitya Gita Vaditya Madhyan Manashodasena Romanchakampa Ashutaranga Bhaju Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam तीक्ष्णस्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं निकुञ्जयोनोरतिकेलिसिते यायालिभिर्योक्तिरपेक्षणीयं तत्रादिदाक्षादतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षादरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव साध्वी किन्तु प्रभुर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्या प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्या प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायास्तुवन्तस्य यशास्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दं नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकशिपूर्वक्षः शीलकण्ठानकालये पालतो न सिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो न सिंह महेन सिंहो हृदयेन सिंहो सिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये तव करकमलवरेण कमद्भुतशृङ्गम् दलिता हिरण्यकशिपूतनुभृङ्गम् केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नृसिंहदेव 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 जय नृसिंहदेव जय प्रह्लाद महाराज प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक नृसिंहदेव भगवान की जय नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो हे अभिलाषी तो मारा शरण लो तारा वंशा पूर्णा हो कृपा करी करो तारे वृंदावन वासी मोराइया विलास विलास कुंज दियो वास नयने हरिवो सदा युगल रूप राशि हे निवेदन धर सखीरनुगाता करो सेवा अधिकार लीजे करो निज दासी बिना कृष्ण दासे कोई ये न मोरा है श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदाई नवासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदाई नवासी तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे वृंदाय तुलसीदेव जय प्रियाय केशवश्च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यमत्याय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेव जय प्रियाय केशवश्च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यमत्याय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसीदेव जय प्रियाय केशवश्च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यमत्याय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी महारानी की जय।
Radharani का books. Radharani किताब है।
Radharani, there's a book.
हाँ ये मैं लेके आया कल।
You have to first part and second part. This is the second.
What? है आमी रखा हुआ है कल ही तो लाया है
This is part two.
कब जुलाई दिन सामने तो रखा है में दियो और एक पेन हो गया नोट पेन टेबल पेन
Pen I have one.
अंडरलाइन करना है हाँ ठीक अंडरलाइन
From beginning, huh? Chapter 1. Who is Srimati Radharani? People in general do not know about Radharani. Radha Tattva is very confidential subject matter, which is hidden even from the Vedas. As a result, there are many misconceptions or no conception at all about Radharani. Srila Prabhupada says, the two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. Taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 4.56 purport. Radharani is not some ordinary lady or even some special lady of this material world with whom Lord Krishna was having his pastimes. She is the pleasure-giving potency of the Lord, rendering service unto him eternally in the material and spiritual realms. In his book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has explained about Radharani by quoting a verse from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami. This is the verse, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Vladini Shakti Rasma. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus, they enjoy each other tasting the mellow of love. Purport. The two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The above description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is a condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. One is enjoined in two. Sri Krishna is the potent factor and Srimati Radharani is the internal potency. According to Vedanta philosophy, there is no difference between the potent and the potency. They are identical. We cannot differentiate between one and the other, any more than we can separate fire from heat. In fact, Radharani is the internal potency of Sri Krishna, and she eternally identifies the pleasure of Sri Krishna, intensifies the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Impersonalists cannot understand this without the help of a Mahabhagavat devotee. The very name Radha suggests that Srimati Radharani is eternally the topmost mistress of the comforts of Sri Krishna. As such, she is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Sri Krishna. Devotees in Vrindavan therefore seek the mercy of Srimati Radharani in order to be recognized as loving servitors of Sri Krishna. This has been taken from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.55 and 56. Radharani is a manifestation of Krishna's love. Sri Radha is the Ladini Shakti or the pleasure-giving potency of Krishna.
Put a bar on the side.
Yeah. Krishna is energetic and Radha is energy. Radha and Krishna are one Atma in the sense that they are Shakti and Shaktiman. Even though they are one Atma, still from time immemorial.
Put a bar on the side.
They have manifested in two different forms in Golok Vrindavan to enjoy sweet pastimes. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna has unlimited potencies characterized in the three divisions: the internal potency or Antaranga Shakti, the external potency or Bahiranga Shakti, and marginal potency or Tatastha Shakti. The marginal potency is Jiva Shakti. The external energy is the energy by which this material world is manifested, maintained and annihilated. The internal potency is his potency by he maintained his spiritual world. This internal potency, which is known as Swarup Shakti or Chit Shakti, has three aspects: Sandhini Shakti, is his aspect of eternal existence, the Lord's existential potency by which he maintains his existence. The essential portion of the Sandhini potency is Sudha Tattva. The Lord Krishna's existence rests upon it. Krishna's mother, father, abode, house, bedding, seats, and so on are all transformations of Suddha Sattva. Samvit Sakti is his aspect of cognizance or cognitive potency, which is also accepted as knowledge, by which potency the Lord knows himself and causes others to know him. The essence of the Samvit potency is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. Radharani Shakti is his aspect of bliss by which the Lord gets pleasure and devotees are nourished. By this he possesses transcendental bliss and causes his devotee to experience bliss. Now we will discuss particularly about Radharani Shakti. Radharani Sar Prema Sar Bhav Bhaver Prema Kashta Nam Mahabhav. The essence of the Radharani potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion or bhav, and the ultimate development of emotion is Mahabhav. Mahabhav Swarup Shri Radha Thakurani Sarva Guna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. Shri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhav. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Krishna Prema Bhavita Yana Chitendriya Kaya Krishna Nija Shakti Radha Kridaya Sahaya. Her mind, senses and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes. Purport. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. She is definitely not like the conditioned souls who have material bodies, claws and feathers covered by material senses. She is all spiritual. And both her body and her mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus, her body, mind and senses fully shines in love of Krishna. She is the personified Radharani Shakti, the pleasure-giving energy of the Lord's internal potency. And therefore, she is the only source of enjoyment for Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from her. Therefore, Radha and Sri Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested the all attractive form of Sri Krishna, and the same internal potency in the Radharani feature has presented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction of all attractiveness. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastime of Sri Krishna. Krishna Kanta Gana Tekhi Trividha Prakar Eka Lakshmi Gana Pure Maheshi Gana Ar Vraja Gana Rupa Ar Kanta Gana Sa Shri Radhika Haite Kanta Ganera Visar. The beloved consort of Lord Krishna are of three kinds: the goddess of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Vraja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. Avatari Krishna Yaiche Kare Avatar, Amshini Radha Haite Tina Ganera Vistar. Just as the fountainhead Lord Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. Govinda Anandini Radha Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be all and end all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts. This has been taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.76, 77 and 82. In the Brihad Gautamiya Tantra, it has been stated, Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta, Radhika Paradevata, Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva, Kanta Sammohini Para. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Shri Krishna. She is the central figure of all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all attractive personality of God. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Jagat Mohane Krishna Tahara Mohini Ata Eva Samastera Para Thakura. Lord Krishna enchants the world, but Sri Radha enchants even him. Therefore, she is the supreme goddess of all. Radha Purna Shakti Krishna Purna Shaktiman. Dui Vastu Bheda Nahi Sastra Praman. Sri Radha the full power. The Lord Krishna is the possessor of full power. The two are non-different, as evident by the revealed scriptures. Radha Krishna Aicha Sada Eka Eswaru. Leela Rasa Aswadite Dhara Dvidu. Thus Radha and Krishna are one, yet they have taken two forms to enjoy the mellows of pastime. Radhika Hayena Krishner Pranay Vikar Swarup Shakti Ladini Nam Yaha. Srimati Radhika is the transformation of Krishna's name. She is his internal energy called Ladini. Ladini Karaya Krishna Ananda Swadana. Ladinira Dwara Kare Bhaktera Poshan. That Ladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Chapter 2. The greatness of Radharani's love for Krishna. People in general do not understand the pure loving relations between Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna. Radharani's love affair with Krishna are not ordinary, mundane loving affairs. One must understand the pure form of Radharani's love for Krishna. In this material world, if there is attraction between two people, they say, I love you. But actually, this word, love, is not a word to be used in this context, but only for the unalloyed loving relationship between Krishna and the living entities. Love means there is no self-interest. No one works only for one works only for the satisfaction of Lord Krishna. Because material love is always based on sense gratification, it is actually lust, not love. When some people read in scripture about the loving relationship between Radha and Krishna, immediately they think of material love. But the loving relationship between Krishna and Radharani is pure love, because Radharani is loving Krishna only for his satisfaction. In fact, Radharani is Krishna's internal potency, whose business is to give pleasure to Krishna. From time immemorial, she has been serving Krishna with devotion to please him. Thus, it is necessary for us to know the difference between love and lust, that we might understand Radharani's loving mood. Now, I will quote from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita on this subject matter, as it has been explained by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami along with Srila Prabhupada's purpose. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.162. Gopi Ganera Prema Roda Bhavanam Vishuddha Nirmala Prema Kabhuna Hekam. The love of the Gopis is called Ruda Bhav. It is pure and spotless. It is not at any time lust. Purport. The position of Gopis is their loving dealing with Krishna. Sorry, what? Should I read it again?
Underline the previous one. Underline the previous one.
Underline the previous one.
Yes.
The position of purport. The position of Gopis is their loving dealing with Krishna is transcendental. Their emotion is called Ruda Bhav, although it apparently like mundane sex desire. One should not confuse it with mundane sexual love, for it is pure and unadulterated love for Godhead. Kam prema dohar vibhinna lakshan loha ar hema yaiche swarupa vilakshan. Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. Atmendriya. Should I underline this also?
Yeah.
Atmendriya priti vancha tare balikam Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare premanam. The desire to gratify one's own senses is called kama or lust.
Even the gold Yeah.
Should I begin?
Yeah,
So I should not write like this. It's just the desire to gratify one's own senses is calm or lust, but the desire to please the senses of the Lord Krishna is prem or love. One should try to discriminate between sexual love and pure love, for they belong to different categories with a gulf of difference between them. They are as different from one another as iron is from gold. The revealed scriptures describe pure love as follows. Sarvatha Dvamsha Rahitam Sati Api Dvamsha Karani Yad Bhava Bandhanam Yunuhu Saprema Parikritaha. If there is ample reason for the dissolution of a conjugal relationship, and yet such a dissolution does not take place, such a relationship of intimate love is called pure. The predominated Gopis were bound to Krishna in such pure love. For them, there was no question of sexual love based on sense gratification. Their only engagement in life was to see Krishna happy in all respects, regardless of their own personal interests. They dedicated their souls only for the satisfaction of the personality of God as Shri Krishna. There was not the slightest tinge of sexual love between the Gopis and Krishna. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita asserts with authority that sexual love is a matter of personal sense enjoyment. All the regulative principles in the Veda pertaining to desires for popularity, fatherhood, wealth, and so on are different phases of sense gratification. Acts of sense gratification may be performed under the cover of public welfare, nationalism, religion, altruism, ethical codes, biblical codes, health directives, fruitive actions, bashfulness, tolerance, personal comfort, liberation from material bondage, progress, family affection, or fear of social ostracism, or legal punishment. But all these categories are different subdivisions of one substance, that is sense gratification. All such good acts are performed basically for one's own sense gratification, for no one can sacrifice his personal interest while discharging these much advertised moral and religious principles. But above all this is a transcendental stage in which one feels himself to be only an eternal servitor of Krishna, the absolute personality of God. All acts performed in this sense of servitude are called pure love of God because they are performed for the absolute sense gratification of Sri Krishna. However, any act performed for the purpose of enjoying its fruits or results is an act of sense gratification. Such actions are visible sometimes in gross and sometimes in subtle form. This has been quoted from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.164 and 5. Sri Krishna Raj Kaviraj Goswami continues, the object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses, but love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. Social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruitive actions, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, self-gratification, and the path of Varnashram Dharma, which is difficult to give up. The Gopis have forsaken all these, along with their families, and suffered their relatives' punishment and scolding, all for the sake of serving Lord Krishna. They rendered loving service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. That is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna. It is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stain. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. Thus, there is not the slightest taint of lust in the Gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breast, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. The Gopis do not care for their own pleasure or pain. All their physical and mental activities are directed towards offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. They renounce everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. Quoting Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 4.165 to 176. O my beloved Gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you shall not be displeased with me. In spite of this, we see that the Gopis are taking care of their bodies and decorating themselves very nicely. How can one understand that they are not acting for their own sense gratification? In this regard, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, now whatever affection we see the Gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. The Gopis think, quote, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner and it brings him enjoyment. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. O Arjun, there are no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the Gopis, who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4. In his purport to these verses, Srila Prabhupada writes, the selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the Gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not therefore misunderstand the carefulness of the Gopis in their personal decoration. The Gopis dressed themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami continues, there is another wonderful feature of the emotion of the Gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehensions of the intelligence. When the Gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. The Gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure of Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. The Gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the Gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. When Lord Krishna sees the Gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. The Gopis think, quote, Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me, and that thought increases the fullness and beauty of their face and bodies. The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the Gopis. And the more the Gopis... The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the Gopis, and the more the Gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. In this way, a competition takes place between them in which no one acknowledges defeat. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the Gopis, and when the Gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the Gopis increases. Therefore, we find that the joy of the Gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada comments, the situation of the Gopis is perplexing, for although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the Gopis. Devotees at Vrindavan therefore try to serve the Gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the Gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the Gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the Gopis instead of Krishna. But his contemporaries misunderstood him. And for this reason, Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. By looking at the beautiful Gopis, Krishna became enlivened. And this enlivens the Gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the Gopis and Krishna, which is without limitation, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistakes them dealing to be purely amorous. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the Gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of God, with not a spot of sexual indulgence. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4. There is another natural symptom of the Gopis' love that shows it to be without a trace of lust. The love of the Gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. That sweetness in return increases their love, for they are greatly satisfied. The happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. This is not a relationship of desire or personal gratification. Whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotees become angry towards such ecstasy. The example of this is cited in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.2.62. Shri Daruka did not relish his ecstasy feelings of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned, and thus obstructed his service of fanning Lord Krishna. Also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.54, the lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. Furthermore, pure devotees never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own personal pleasure through 5 kinds of liberation. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada has said, quote, a pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from the merging with the body of the Lord and extending to other varieties of liberation, such as equality of form, opulence or abode, and the opulences of living near the Lord. Unquote. The natural love of the Gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure like molten gold. The Gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. The Gopis know Krishna's desire, and they know how to render perfect loving service for him, for his enjoyment. They perform their services expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. Ei Gopi Gana Madhya Uttama Radhika, Rupa Guna Saubhagya Prema Sarvadhika. Among the Gopis, Srimati Radharani is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, in good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in love. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 4, verse 214. In this regard, it is said, just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place Radhakund is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the Gopis. Padma Puran, cited in Adi Leela, chapter 4, Payat 250. Lord Krishna himself has said, O Partha, in all the 3 planetary systems, this earth is specially fortunate. For on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and there the Gopis are especially glorious because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Adi Puran, cited in Adi Leela, chapter 4, Payat number 214. Should I read it again? Yeah. Lord Krishna himself has said, O Partha, in all the 3 planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate, for on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and here the Gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Chapter 3. Sri Radha's name in the Vedas, Upanishads and Puranas. Stotram Radhanam Pate Giravo Gira Yakyasi. O hero, Radhana, this kind of stotra, which is very much befitting for your glorification and your opulence, Vibhuti, let all these be true and lovable. Riga Veda 135, Samaveda 1600 and Atharva 20:45 and 2. Shyamas Chabalam Prapadye. Sabalas Chayam Prapadyate. I get Sabala. Rather, source of all kinds of lila. From Shyam. From Sabala, that rather, I get Shyam. This is Chandogya Upanishad 8:31. From Gopala Tapana Shruti, it is known that Gandharva is topmost consort of Sri Krishna. In Mathura Mandal, there is Golok Dham, where two-handed form of Shyam Sundar, Govinda, is residing eternally. Tasya Dve Parshve Chandravali Radhika. On his two sides are Chandravali and Radhika. After saying this, it has been mentioned Tasya Adya Prakriti Radhika Nitya Nirguna Yasya Amse Lakshmi Durgadika Saktya. Shri Krishna's Adya Shakti or original potency Radhika is eternal and nirguna, beyond material qualities. Lakshmi, Durga, etc. And all energies of the Lord are her plenary portions. In Rik Parik Shishta, it has been mentioned Radhya Madhyo Devo Madhave Neva Radhika Dudha Jatante Janeswaha. Radha has become effulgent by Madhava and Madhava has become effulgent by Radha. Thus they are residing among the people. Radha and Madhav are residing among the people being effulgent by each other. In Brihad Gautama Tantra it is said Sattvam Tattvam Paratvam Cha Tattvatrayam Aham Kila Tritattva Rupini Sakni Radhika Mam Vallabha. Even if I am eternally blissful, Nityanandamaya, still I am the Tri Tattva Swarupa, the cause and effect of this creation and beyond both. Similarly, though Radha is Nityanandamaya as embodiment of bliss, she is also a Tri Tattva Swarupa, the cause and effect of the creation and beyond. That means that just as Krishna is the cause of all causes and is beyond everything in the same way, even though Radha is Parashakti, the transcendental nature of the Lord is still the same. That is, he is the cause of all causes. Thus Gopal Tapani Shruti describes Radha as Adya Shakti, original energy of the Lord. Naraja Pantaratra states Lakshmi Saraswati Durga Savitri Radhika Para Devi Radha Para Prokta Chaturvarga Prasavini Rasika Rasikananda Swiram Rase Vari Para. And Gautami Tantra Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Para Devata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kanta Sammohini Para. By the use of the word Para at the end, it has been indicated that Radha is the greatest among all potencies of the Lord. Padma Purana states, Yatha Radha Priyaha Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopis Seveta Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place Radhakund is dear to him. He alone is his most beloved of all the Gopis. Many other Puranas also have described the pastimes of Radharani. Thus her name is found in all Vedic literature, Shruti, Smriti, Puranas and Tantra. Why Radharani was not known much among the people in general, even when so many Puranas had described her? Answer: the subject of Radharani is very confidential. She is known as Veda Gopya, hidden even in the Vedas, because she is very because she is very confidential and most dear to the Lord desired that he himself disclose her glories, as Radharani Tattva cannot be known among the people. That's why the Lord ordered Yogamaya to make the portion of his scriptures describing Radharani difficult to understand, and that her glories remain unknown to people until the Lord himself descend in the form of Gauranga. Radharani is named in the Bhagavatam. We find Radharani's name is not mentioned in Bhagavatam. Sometimes, unfortunate people do not accept Radharani because her name has not been mentioned in Bhagavatam. But Gaudiya Acharyas have given different reasons for why her name has not been mentioned in Bhagavatam directly, though indirectly it has been mentioned there. In this regard, Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita mentioned, Maharaj Parikshit told his mother Uttara, "O mother, my Gurudev Goswami has not been able to mention the name of any gopis when he was describing Srimad Bhagavatam. The reason for that is, if he would pronounce the name of any gopi, then in their remembrance, he would feel acute burning love, and thus he would feel very much ecstasy, which would make his throat choke and make him unable to recite Bhagavatam. Thus, it would have been not possible for him to continue recitation of Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Katha would be disrupted. That's why during the description of different pastimes like Rasa Leela, though he has explained their great mood of love, he did not mention anyone's name. Srila Sukadeva Goswami tried his best to not mention any gopi's name, but still he could not control himself. As a result, at one point he indirectly mentions her name. When Sri Krishna disappeared from the Rasa Leela, all the gopis were searching for him. At one point they saw the footprints of one gopi along with the footprints of Sri Krishna. The gopis said, Anayar Ardhito Nunam Bhagavan Harir Ishvara Yanno Vihara Govinda Prito Yam Anayat Raha. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. In this verse, Srila Sukadeva Goswami has used the word Anaya Araditaha. In this word Aradita, Sukadeva has mentioned the name of Radha indirectly. Chapter 4. Why Radharani created Sri Navadvip Dham. The holy Dham descends with Sri Krishna and his associates and paraphernalias. Sri Mayapur Dham, however, was Srimati Radharani's own creation to lure Krishna away from another lover. In the Ananta Samhita, Shiva explained to Parvati why Srimati Radharani created merciful Sri Dham Mayapur. Lord Shiva told Parvati, as he plays in a lotus, Krishna was enjoying in Vraja, in the present forest groups of Vrindavan. Moon-faced, blue-eyed Radhika heard this news from one Sati and hardly ran to find Krishna. Seeing that Radha was coming, Krishna suddenly disappeared and Viraja became a river. When Srimati Radhika arrived there, she could not find him. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, Radha began to think of how to attract him away from Viraja. She gathered her Sakhis together between the Ganga and Yamuna river. She created a beautiful place decorated with creepers and trees and filled with male and female bumblebees. Deer and birds were happily enjoying as they wandered about. And the whole area was filled with the fragrance of jasmine, mallika and malati flowers. That transcendental abode was adorned with tulsi forest and decorated with various groves. On Radha's order, the Ganga and Yamuna, with their pleasant water and the banks, acted as a moat to protect the garden. Cupid himself, along with springtime, eternally resides there, and the birds constantly sing the auspicious name of Krishna. Radha, dressed in colorful clothes, then began to play a beautiful melody on a flute in order to attract Krishna. Attracted by that melody, Krishna appeared in that enchanting place. Radha, the attractor of Krishna's mind, seeing that Krishna had come, held his hand and experienced ecstatic delight. Then Krishna, understanding Radha's mood, spoke in a voice choked with love. O lovely faced Radha, you are my very life. There is no one more dear to me than you. Therefore, I will never leave you. Just for me, you have created this wonderful place. Staying with you, I will transform this place, filling it with new sakhis and groups. The devotees will glorify this place as new or Nava Vrindavan. As this place is like an island or Dvipa, the boys will call it Navadvipa. By my order, all the holy places will reside here. Because you have created this place for my pleasure, I will live here eternally. Those people who come here and worship us will certainly attain our eternal service in the mood of Sakhis. Oh dear Radha, like Vrindavan, this place is extremely pure. If anyone comes here just once, he will obtain the results of going to all sacred places. He will quickly attain devotional service which satisfies us. O Parvati, Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva continued. I have described to you the reason for the appearance of Navadvipa. Now here, when heard by mankind, this narration remove all sins and bestow devotional service. Whoever rises early in the morning and with devotion to Gaura recites or hears this story of Navadvipa's creation will certainly attain Gauranga. Section 2, Radharani in Goloka. Chapter 5, Radharani's appearance in Goloka.
अरे लगा वहाँ पे ये रात दो है
In Golok Vrindavan, there is a place called Rasamandal. On one side of the Rasamandal, there is a mountain called Satashringa. This mountain appeared in Bhuloka as Govardhan. In Vrindavan, there are nice gardens of Malati and Malika flowers. The Lord of the universe, by whose mere desire everything happens, was sitting in that garden on a beautiful Ratna Simhasana. He had the desire to enjoy, and as soon as this desire came to his mind, immediately from his left side appeared a very beautiful Devi. She was decorated with valuable jewels and wore clothes purified by fire. She was dazzling like millions of moons. Her body had the color of molten gold. She was illuminating everything with her radiance. When she smiled, her teeth were very attractive. Her face defeated the beauty of the lotus flower in autumn. She was wearing a flower garland of malati and a diamond necklace. Her bodily effulgence was brilliant like the sun in summer season. She was sitting next to Krishna on the Ratna Simhasana. Thus the Lord appeared in two forms. From the left side of his body appeared Srimati Radharani, and from right side of his body appeared Sri Krishna. When Lord Sri Krishna saw Radhika, he wanted to enjoy with her. Knowing this, her form became even more beautiful. Immediately she ran to pick flowers to offer to the lotus feet of Sri Hari. Because she appeared in Rasamandal and immediately ran to serve the Lord by picking flowers, she is known as Radha. Ra represents the Rasamandal and Dha represents Dhava or running. Because she appeared in the Rasamandal and was running Dhavaman to the Lord when she saw him very enthusiastic to enjoy Damana, her name is Radha.
बहुत सारे फूल लगा दो।
यदि सास यह समझे कि हमारी एक बेटी तो उस घर में चलेगी, लेकिन भगवान ने दूसरी बेटी हमको भेजी है, ये मेरी बेटी है, इस भाव से पुत्री को जैसा वात्सल्य सास देती है, माता देती है, ऐसा वात्सल्य सास अपनी बहू को देने लग जाए तो बोलो किसी घर में गृह कलह होगा? किसी बहू बेटी को रोना पड़ेगा? होता यह है कि सास सदा अपनी बेटी के पक्ष में रहती है और बहू भला दूसरे के यहाँ पली पुसी वो इतने नखरे क्यों सहन करे? तो फिर ननद बीच में भूमिका निभाती है, मैया को भड़काती है, बाप को भड़काती है, फिर भाई साहब के सामने भी रोती है, फिर घर नरक बन जाता है। इसलिए बहू को बहू जैसा नहीं, अपनी बेटी के जैसा रखो। धन्य है मानसी की वह पंक्ति। दशरथ जी महाराज कह रहे हैं, कुंती ने कहा, ये आशीर्वाद दे रही है, यथेन्द्राणी हरिहये स्वाहा चैव विभावसौ रोहिणी चत यथा सोमे दमयन्ति यथा नले यथा वैश्रवणे भद्रा वशिष्ठे चाप्युरुन्धति यथा नारायणे लक्ष्मी तथा त्वं भव भद्रिषु। कृष्णा, पांचाली, द्रौपदी, मैं तुम्हारी सास तुम्हें हृदय से आशीर्वाद देती हूँ। जैसा इंद्राणी का इंद्र में अनुराग है, परम पतिव्रता स्वाहा का जैसा अग्नि में अनुराग है, परम पतिव्रता रोहिणी का जैसा चंद्रमा में अनुराग है, दमयंती महासती दमयंती का जैसा नल में अनुराग है, भद्रा का कुबेर में जैसा अनुराग है, अरुंधति का जैसा वशिष्ठ में अनुराग है, और भगवती महालक्ष्मी का जैसा नारायण में अनुराग है, वह अनुराग तुम्हें अपने पतियों के प्रति प्राप्त हो। तुम्हारा पति अनुराग बढ़ता रहे। तुम परम पतिव्रता हो, वीरों को उत्पन्न करने वाली हो, अनंत सुखों को भोगने वाली हो, सुभगा भोग संपन्ना यज्ञ पत्नी पतिव्रता। तुम यज्ञ पत्नी बनो। बहुत ध्यान से सुने, यज्ञ पत्नी माने क्या? तुम्हें अपने जीवन में ऐसा अवसर आवे कि यज्ञ में तुम्हें अपने पति के दक्षिण भाग में बैठने का अवसर मिले। इसी को यज्ञ पत्नी कहते हैं, इसी को धर्मपत्नी कहते हैं। ऐसा मंगलमय क्षण तुम्हारे जीवन में आवे, तुम अनेक यज्ञों में अपने पतियों के साथ दक्षिण भाग में बैठ करके भाग ग्रहण करो, अतिथियों की सेवा करो। कोई भी अतिथि तुम्हारे द्वार से भूखा न जाए। साधु माने साधु लिखा हुआ है, अतिथीन आगतान साधु। संत महात्माओं की सेवा करो, कोई साधु तुम्हारे द्वार से भूखा न चला जाए, कोई वृद्ध भूखा न चला जाए, कोई बालक भूखा न रह जाए। गुरुजनों को खिला करके ही खाओ, पहले भोजन मत करो। और तुम्हारे द्वारा किसी का भी तिरस्कार नहीं होना चाहिए। सारा राज्य और सारी प्रजा तुम्हें अत्यंत पवित्र भाव से देखें, आदर के भाव से देखें। और तुम अश्वमेध यज्ञ में अभवृत स्नान अपने पतियों के साथ करो। मैं तुम्हें आशीर्वाद देती हूँ। और अंत में कहा कि तुम 100 वर्षों तक अपने पतियों के साथ जियो, तुम्हारा सुहाग अविचल बना रहे, तुम्हें वैधव्य दोष प्राप्त हो, ऐसा अवसर तुम्हारे जीवन में ना आवे कि तुम पति से शून्य हो। आशीर्वाद दिया है। श्री द्रौपदी ने कुंती के चरण दबाए हैं और कहा कि माँ, आप ही मेरी परम गुरु हैं, आपकी आज्ञा ही मेरा जीवन का सर्वस्व है, आपकी आज्ञा ही मेरे लिए सर्वोपरि है। और महाराज भगवान श्री कृष्ण बड़े प्रसन्न हैं। इस ब्याह में ठाकुर जी ने खूब बढ़ चढ़ करके भाग लिया है। और इधर ये सारी सूचना, अब तो बात स्पष्ट ही हो गई, पांडवों का विवाह हो गया, सारी सूचना कौरवों के पास चली गई। और ये तो इतने दुखी हो गए कि इनका तो जीना मुश्किल हो गया। महाराज दुर्योधन को तो जूड़ी आ गई, जोर का बुखार आ गया। महाराज लिखा है, हम अपने मन से नहीं बोल रहे हैं, वो ज्वरग्रस्त हो गया। उसने कहा महाराज हम लोगों की वहाँ क्या दशा हुई पिताजी आपको पता नहीं है, हैं? और देखो भाग्य जिसके अनुकूल होता है वही होता है। उसने कहा कि देखो कर्ण भी वहाँ कुछ नहीं कर पाया और शल्य भी नीचे गिर गए। हम लोगों की तो दशा क्या हुई हम कह नहीं सकते हैं। धिक्कार है, धिक्कार है, धिक्कार है। दुर्योधन बोला पुरोचन जिंदा होता तो मैं उसका गला रेत कर मार देता। उसने पांडवों को जलाया क्यों नहीं? हमारे शत्रु जीवित बच कैसे गए? क्या करें? हम पाशे की विद्या के आचार्य हैं, लेकिन तुम्हारा भाग्य ही खोटा है तो हम क्या करें? हम सीधा पासा डालते हैं, तुम्हारा भाग्य उसे उलट देता है। एक युक्ति की और वो भी विफल हो गई। एक भान्य राजा ध्यान से सुनो। शकुनी उवाच कश्चित् शत्रु कर्षणीयः पीडनीयस्तथा पराः उत्सादनीया कौन्तेया सर्वे क्षत्रस्य मे मताः। भांजे, कोई शत्रु ऐसा होता है उसे मार पीट करके कमजोर कर देना चाहिए, धनहीन बनाकर दरिद्र बना देना चाहिए, अथवा उसको नगर से निकाल देना चाहिए, मारना नहीं चाहिए। कुछ ऐसे भी शत्रु होते हैं, मार खा करके, पीट करके, अपमान सहन करके, धनहीन होकर के नगर से बाहर जा करके वे फिर अस्तित्व शून्य हो जाते, फिर वो कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ पाते। लेकिन पांडव तुम्हारे ऐसे शत्रु हैं कि इनको सर्वथा समाप्त किए बिना तुम्हारा काम बनने वाला नहीं है। इसलिए इनको तो किसी भी स्थिति से मार डालना चाहिए। भूरिश्रवा भी वहां थे, भूरिश्रवाने का ये संभव नहीं। तुम्हारे अनुकूल कितने लोग हैं? द्रोणाचार्य पांडवों के अनुकूल है, भीष्म पितामह पांडवों के अनुकूल है, विदुर जी पांडवों के अनुकूल है, कृपाचार्य पांडवों के अनुकूल है। इतने जब सब अनुकूल है, अश्वत्थामा भी पांडवों के अनुकूल है, सारी प्रजा पांडवों के अनुकूल है। और जब इतने लोग अनुकूल होंगे तो तुम्हारे अंधे पिता वो भी उधर ही चले जाएंगे। मानो भूरिश्रवा ने यह कहा था कि हम भी तुम्हारे पक्ष में नहीं, हम भी उधर ही। इसको कहते हैं चतुराई। उसने कहा तुम्हारा बाप भी उधर ही चला जाएगा तो तुम और तुम्हारा शकुनी रहे, तुम पांडवों का कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकते। अब जो घटना घट गई सो तो हो गई, क्यों नहीं बिगाड़ सकता हूं मैं? बोले इसलिए नहीं बिगाड़ सकते हो कि साक्षात भगवान कृष्ण बलराम उनके सहयोगी हैं। भगवान जिनके सहयोगी हो उनको तुम क्या बिगाड़ोगे? और विराट भी कोई, द्रुपद भी कोई सामान्य नहीं है। तुम्हें पता है याद भी होगा तो सब गए थे द्रोणाचार्य की आज्ञा से द्रुपद से युद्ध करने, लेकिन सब परास्त होकर आ गए और महाराज कर्ण को भी पराजित होकर के आना पड़ा। अब दुर्योधन जैसे किसी सांप का फन को चल दिया जाए और वो एकदम सारे ऐसी दुर्योधन की दशा भई। और दुर्योधन ने रोते हुए अपने बाप से धृतराष्ट्र से कहा, पिताजी अब समझ में आया क्या दैवं च परमं मन्ये पौरुषं चाप्यनर्थकं एकस्तु पौरुषं तात धियन्ते यत्र पाण्डवा। मैं तो आज भाग्य को ही प्रबल मानता हूँ, पुरुषार्थ बेकार है, हमारे पुरुषार्थ को धिक्कार है, अब तक पांडव जीवित हैं। अच्छा अब ये पूरा पता नहीं है धृतराष्ट्र घटना की जानकारी धृतराष्ट्र को नहीं होगी। वहां से पराजित होकर लौटे मंथना कर रहे हैं। विदुर जी तो बहुत बढ़िया महात्मा है महाराज, कई बार जले पर नमक छिड़कने का काम करते हैं। हाँ, विदुर जी पहुंच गए और विदुर जी ने कहा, महाराज आधिराज। धृतराष्ट्र महाराज के जीवन की जय हो। महात्मा मंडल में समाचार ला रहे लाए हो। विदुर जी ने हंसते हुए कहा, उवाच दृष्ट्या कुरुगो वर्धन्ते। महाराज आपकी कृपा से कौरव बहुत बढ़ रहे हैं आगे। अब तो गया प्रसन्नता के मारे के दुर्योधन से सच में गया था, स्वयंवर में लटका दुर्योधन का ब्याह हो। अब तो धृतराष्ट्र बोले, लाओ लाओ विदुर, विलंब मत करो, बढ़िया साड़ी लाओ, बढ़िया आभूषण लाओ, बढ़िया मंगल वस्तुएं लाओ, द्रौपदी को मेरे सामने लाओ, दुर्योधन को मेरे सामने उपस्थित करो, मैं आशीर्वाद दूंगा। विदुर जी फिर हंसे, बोले आशीर्वाद लेने तो आएंगे, पर आप जब बुलाएंगे तब पांचों पांडव द्रौपदी के साथ आएंगे। महाराज तुम्हारा दुष्ट दुर्योधन इतना भाग्यशाली नहीं है, या किसी भी द्रौपदी से प्राप्त हो। ये चले तो नमक छिड़कने का काम। अब आपने सुनकर बहुत पीड़ा हुई धृतराष्ट्र को, लेकिन अपने मनोभाव को छिपाता हुआ धृतराष्ट्र बोले, वाह वाह बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत अच्छी बात है। जैसे दुर्योधन आदि हमारे पुत्र हैं, ऐसे पांडव भी हमारे पुत्र हैं। जब यह बात कही तो श्री विदुर जी ने कहा, हे महाराज हम तो एक ही प्रार्थना भगवान से करते हैं, नित्यम नित्यम भवतु ते प्रीषा राजन शतम क्षमा। हम भगवान से प्रार्थना करते हैं, इस समय आप जो आशीर्वाद दे रहे हैं, इस समय आपकी जो बुद्धि है वो बुद्धि सैकड़ों वर्ष तक ऐसी ही बनी रहे। अर्थात पांडवों को अपना पुत्र मानते रहो, और अपना नहीं मानते इसलिए तो झगड़े होते हैं। बोलो भक्तवत्सल भगवान। विदुर जी तो चले गए। अब धृतराष्ट्र के पास दुर्योधन आया, बोला महाराज मैं जीवित नहीं रहूंगा, मैं मर जाऊंगा, जैन पी लूंगा, विष खा लूंगा। नदी में कूद गया। अरे बेटा हुआ क्या? अरे बोले हुआ क्या, मेरी बड़ी बेइज्जती हुई वहाँ सभा में, उनकी खानी पड़ी तो उसकी प्रतिज्ञा भी नहीं मैं चढ़ा पाया। कर्ण पर भरोसा करता था, वह भी बेचारा कुछ नहीं कर सका, पासा पलट गया, पांडव जीवित हैं। धृतराष्ट्र ने कहा बेटा कोई बात नहीं, अब जो हुआ सो हुआ, अपने मन में पांडवों के प्रति विरोध का त्याग कर दो। दुर्योधन बोला महाराज आप बहुत बड़ाई करते हैं पांडवों की विदुर जी के सामने। धृतराष्ट्र ने कहा मैं विदुर के सामने अपने मन के भाव को न छिपाऊं तो करूं क्या? इसलिए विदुर के अपने मन के भाव को छिपाने के लिए विदुर के मुंह की देखी बात हमें कहनी पड़ती है। अब समझ में आई बात की नहीं? महाभारत युद्ध का बीज है पक्षपाती धृतराष्ट्र। दुर्योधन बोला कि दान साम दान दंड भेद किसी भी पद्धति से पांडवों को समाप्त कर देना चाहिए। भीमसेन को फिर विष दिलाकर मार देना चाहिए, अथवा इसको सोते हुए भीमसेन का गला घोटकर मार देना चाहिए। जाने क्या क्या, जैसे कुछ पागल बोले ऐसे बोलने लग गया। कर्ण ने कहा ये तुम्हारी बात गलत है, ना तो पांडव सोते हुए मारे जा सकते, भीमसेन तो बिल्कुल नहीं। उसने घास फूस समझ रखा है भीमसेन को, जो मारने जाएगा उसी को वो मार डालेगा। तब बोले फिर क्या करेंगे? बोले द्वारकाधीश श्री कृष्ण के सहयोगी क्या धंधे हो गए उनको, भले घर में ससुराल हो गई है, क्या तुम उनके बीच में भेद डालोगे? वे पांचों के पांचों माता के मत में स्थित हैं। झगड़ा पत्नी के लिए होता, अब उनके ब्याह भी एक ही से हो गए। न वहां साम चलेगा, न दंड, न भेद चलेगा, न दान चलेगा। हाँ, अब एक ही चीज बची है, दंड। युद्ध करो, युद्ध से ये संभव है। दुर्योधन बेचारा निराश हो गया। विदुर जी ने महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई। ये सूचना जितना जल्दी हो सकता था द्रोणाचार्य, कृपाचार्य, भीष्म पितामह, बल्लिक आदि सबको सुना दिया विदुर जी ने, और सबके साथ योजना भी बना ली। और धृतराष्ट्र के पास आकर के कहा कि महाराज, आप जो प्रजा के सामने फूट फूट कर रो रहे थे, घड़ियाली आंसू बहा रहे थे कि अब तक मैं पांडु को मरा हुआ नहीं मानता था, पर कुंती के सहित पांडव जल गए तो मैं पांडु को मरा हुआ समझने लग गया। हाय रे हाय, दुर्भाग्य, मेरे प्यारे बच्चे कहाँ गए, अनाथ की तरह आग में जल गए। इतना रोने के बाद भी प्रजा को आपके प्रति संदेह था। और अब जब पांडवों ने का विवाह हो गया द्रौपदी से, अब आपका मुंह काला हो गया है। लाक्षागृह में जलाने की जितनी कालिख है वो सारी की सारी कालिख महाराज आपके ऊपर लगी है। महाराज हम अपने मन से नहीं बोले, मूल में लिखा है। प्रहलाद श्री विदुर जी कह रहे हैं कि अब समय आ गया है, उस कालिख को आप धो दीजिए, क्योंकि जिस मनुष्य की, जीवित मनुष्य की अपकीर्ति होती है वो जीवित मनुष्य मरे हुए के समान है। तुमने अधर्म पूर्वक अपने पुत्रों को राज्य दिया है और धर्म पूर्वक युधिष्ठिर युवराज पद पर अभिषेक करा चुके हैं। वे पांडु के उत्तराधिकारी हैं। इसलिए हे पुरुष व्याघ्र, अब पुरोचन की बुराई कोई नहीं कर रहा है। अब सारी प्रजा में आपकी घोर निंदा हो रही है। इसलिए तेषाम अर्ध प्रदीयताम। बोले क्या करें? बोले अब यही करो कि प्रेम पूर्वक उनको बुलाओ और द्रुपद को समाचार भेजो कि हमें बड़ी प्रसन्नता हुई है, और यहाँ बुलाकर आधा राज्य अपने, वैसे तो उत्तम पक्ष यही है कि युधिष्ठिर को युधिष्ठिर का भाग दे दो, और दुर्योधन को कहो कि तुम अनुकूल रहना चाहते तो रहो, नहीं तो तुम्हारी जाए इच्छा हुआ जाओ, इसका त्याग कर दो। लेकिन हम जानते हैं तुम यह कर नहीं सकते हो, तो आधा राज्य युधिष्ठिर को दे दो, आधा राज्य दुर्योधन को दे दो, झगड़े को किसी प्रकार से बचा लो। अब तो श्री कर्ण ने इसका थोड़ा सा निषेध किया है, तो द्रोणाचार्य ने, भीष्म ने इनको किसको फटकारा है, करे मूर्ख, तुम जब देखो तब भीम हाँकता है युद्ध की युद्ध की युद्ध की, तो उनके बराबरी कर सकता है क्या? तेरे ही कारण कुरुवंश में फूट पड़ेगी। कर्ण को डांट फटकार चुप कर दिया और कहा, महाराज द्रोण ने कुरवो वै विनक्षन्ति न चिरेणैव मे मति। दुष्ट कर्ण, तेरी दुर्बुद्धि के कारण ही कुरुकुल का विनाश हो रहा है। जब द्रोणाचार्य ने सबके सामने उसको फटकार लगाई तब वो चुप हुआ। अब तो श्री विदुर जी महाराज को ही भेजा गया, क्योंकि विदुर जी नारद जी के जैसे पात्र हैं। जैसे नारद जी दैत्य देवता सबके पास जाते हैं और सबके यहाँ आदर उनका है, क्योंकि सब जानते हैं नारद जी का कोई स्वार्थ नहीं। ये सब जानते हैं कि विदुर जी ही एक निष्पक्ष और निस्वार्थ व्यक्ति है। विदुर जी को भेजा गया। विदुर जी ने द्रुपद को शुभ समाचार दिया और मंगल क्षेम पूछा है। द्रोणाचार्य, भीष्म आदि इन सबकी ओर से भी कुशल क्षेम पहुंचाया है। और फिर बड़े प्रेम से कहा कि अब आप महाराज भेज रहे हैं प्रस्ताव, और आपको अब युधिष्ठिर अपनी माता के सहित, अपने भाइयों के सहित, पांचाली द्रौपदी के सहित आपको अब हस्तिनापुर चलना चाहिए। महाराज बड़ा उत्सुक हृदय से आप सबका स्वागत करने के लिए तैयार हैं। ऐसा कहकर के विदुर जी आ गए, और आकर के विदुर जी ने, हाँ, द्रुपद ने कहा, युधिष्ठिर, ये विदुर जी कह रहे हैं, आपका क्या मत है? युधिष्ठिर बोले, हम तो बड़ों की आज्ञा से ही चलते हैं, विदुर जी भी हमारे लिए आदरणीय, विदुर जी जो कहें। विदुर जी ने कहा, लौट चलो, अवसर मत चूको। द्रुपद ने कहा, हमको यही अच्छा लगता है। अंत में युधिष्ठिर ने कहा, भगवान की क्या राय है, जान लें। भगवान श्री कृष्ण बोले, जल्दी तैयार हो जाओ, चले जाओ, आगे जो होगा सब ठीक हो जाएगा। सबका मत हो गया। विदुर जी पहले ही लौट के आ गए हैं, और लौट के आकर के उन्होंने कहा, तेषाम इदं निर्दिष्टमयशः पुरोचन कृतं महत्, तेषाम अनुग्रहेणाद्य राजन प्रक्षालयात्मनः। हे राजन, उस पुरोचन ने जो कुछ किया, उसकी कालिक आपके मुंह पर लगी हुई है। अब उस कालिक को धोने का समय आ गया है, इसलिए आप कृपा करके पांडवों पर बात करके युद्ध होगा तो किसकी विजय होगी? पूछा धृतराष्ट्र ने। मंत्रणा भली भई, पर विदुर जी इतने बुद्धिमान हैं। विदुर जी ने विचार किया कि हम तो ये पाठ पढ़ा रहे हैं भाई साहब को, पर शकुनी, दुर्योधन, दुशासन, कर्ण, इन लोगों ने अपना पाठ भी तो पढ़ाया होगा। हो सकता है कहीं ये दुष्ट युद्ध का विचार न किया हो कि नहीं बुलाओ मत, युद्ध की घोषणा कर दो। विदुर जी बहुत चतुर हैं। विदुर जी ने कहा कि यदि आपने यह सोच के रखा हो कि हम पांडवों का आदर नहीं करेंगे, हमारे लड़के युद्ध करके जीत लेंगे, तो कान खोलकर सुन लीजिए। बलवन्तश्च दाशारः बहवश्च विशाम्पते, यतः कृष्णः ततः सर्वे, यतः कृष्णः ततो जयः। यदुवंशी बड़े वीर हैं, जहाँ श्री कृष्ण होंगे वहीं यदुवंशी होंगे, दाऊ दादा होंगे, प्रद्युम्न अनिरुद्ध होंगे, और जहाँ श्री कृष्ण होंगे वहीं विजय होगी। तुम्हारे पक्ष में श्री कृष्ण नहीं होंगे, तुम्हारी विजय नहीं होगी, विजय तो पांडवों की होगी। इसलिए अवसर है, आप बुला लीजिए पांडवों को। दुर्योधन, कर्ण, शकुनी, ये सब भारी दुष्ट हैं, इनकी बात मत मानना, ये मूर्ख हैं, नहीं तो सारी प्रजा नष्ट हो जाएगी। धृतराष्ट्र ने कहा, नहीं नहीं, मैं ऐसे पागल थोड़ी हूँ, बाहर से अंधा हूँ, भीतर से अंधा थोड़ी हूँ, मैं सब समझता हूँ, बहुत बढ़िया आदर सत्कार करूंगा। अब तो महाराज पांडव हस्तिनापुर में आए हैं, कथा बहुत लंबी है,